Some nights, the barracks, which are up the hill, I'll videotape those in a few. There was nothing to do. We'd come down the hill and hang out with whoever was doing night watch and either practice or talk. I know Bob Camell and I used to sit here while he ate pizzas with jalapenos on it and write this song we were working on called The Eternal Blue Flame, which is a reference to a joke from an old 80s movie called The Joy of Sex. But basically, our commander, Chief Warrant Officer O'Brien, used to like trying out 12-tone music charts. And so we asked him one day if we could write one, and he said, sure. So me and Bob Camella started working on just this ridiculously stupid sounding song. And we never did finish it, but it was going to have a chainsaw solo in it and everything. We were just really going to go over the top with it to prove a point, because we really weren't big fans of 12-tone music. And of course, the Light Fighter emblem, the Black Widow spider in reverse. So here's looking back up the main hallway towards the administrative areas. And then this big room over here, which we're going to, is the band practice room, where we used to have all the rehearsals for the band, either to get ready and learn a march for a parade. This is the hallway leading to it. This room here is actually kind of an interesting story. It didn't have that rack at the time I was in. Verdell and myself and a couple other guys would come in here and rehearse for our off-post gigs. And we would have jam sessions in there all the time. They didn't care. It was kind of a storage room, but we ended up using it for our own purposes. And this, of course, is the main band hall. And it looks like they added all these shelves to the wall after the fact to store equipment. But there actually used to be risers along this side of the room over here. And so you had like a 3-tier riser. Of course, you had the brass or the drums on the top, the brass, the woodwinds, and come down here, and the director, or in this case our commanding officer, would stand here and conduct the band. And they obviously added the speaker mounts up there on the wall. And oh, look at there. I didn't even notice this when I came through before and took still pictures. They've actually got the little mounts for the speakers, or for the microphones. That led back into that recording booth, which is right there. So whoever would be the recording engineer, all this broken glass on the ground from the double pane window that they put in for recording purposes. And then it looks like they added racks for storing instruments and stuff on. I don't recall those being there when I was in. And then of course this hole in the wall, which points to where the night watch desk was there. And the windows. And then in this room to the right was the library, and that's where all of the charts for our various songs were kept, copies were kept. We had this guy, Specialist Kim, and I remember him specifically because he was Korean and he ate kimchi for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he stunk like kimchi all the time, and he'd hide back here. But we had racks of sheet music, and we also had another, either 1 or 2 practice cubes in back here too. So you could come in here and practice in the practice cubes. I always used to use the ones back here because it was quieter, because the ones along the entryway were, more in the path of all the traffic, and you could easily get distracted. Plus, if I was trying out new licks that I didn't want anybody to hear, they couldn't hear me if I was in the booth back here. They'd leave this area pretty much alone. And this is what remains of the library, the music library. I don't understand what the 2 on the door is for, but whatever. Alright, so we're heading back out this way. Where'd you go, honey? Okay, I'm going out the front way here real quick. I'll be right around. So we're heading down the entryway here now. I don't mind telling you, I get a little choked up seeing it this way, because it really seems a shame that they would let such a beautiful base, you know, go like this. I know this is just the band hall, but the areas that haven't been converted to the university didn't fare any better than this. A lot of vandalism inside and out, you know, insulation on the floor. You know, if I had a dime for every time I polished this floor when I was in, and then see it like this, to, you know, see it in a dilapidated state. I mean, we're talking about buildings that have been around since the 50s. And, you know, even when you get over to the areas of the World War II barracks and such that have been around even longer, and they still were clean and majestic looking and such when I was in. And I mean, you know, I could kind of understand if it was, you know, if I was in the 40s or 50s and this is what was left after, you know, 50 years of dilapidation. But I quite literally am coming up on the 20th anniversary, going out the north front door now. You know, got some graffiti artists on campus, obviously, that take pleasure in painting a blank wall. Funny, you know, you get arrested for this stuff in the civilian world, and you know, I don't even want to venture to guess what would have happened to you if you'd have done that on a building while the military on this base and you were in it. But different times. Anyway, it's really heart-wrenching to see the post in this state, or at least this part of it, since this is the part I spent so much time on. I mean, you look at like the sidewalks, and the ice plants are overgrowing the sidewalks. That tree is basically taken over the sidewalk. Let me move back here. I don't know how good this is showing up on the camera, but you know, you got whole trees, you know, beer bottles. I mean, this is all stuff that would have been completely unacceptable even as little as 15, 16 years ago. And now it's just the way things are. And go around to the front of the building. This is one of the trails that led up to the barracks that became the band barracks. And as you can see, that's overgrown with a lot of foliage. I'm going to come around to the main entrance to the band hall and get a shot of that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick trip up the hill here to the, let's see, all the windows in the band hall board. Now we're going to take a quick trip up the hill to the barracks, where those of us that weren't married and staying with their spouses in on-post housing or off-post housing lived.